Hello, welcome again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
I'm Bob Scarborough.
And I'm Randy Fisher.
And we again are the FAIRtax guys.
I'm not going to do the disappearing act like I did last time. I'll just show
No,
you.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
the limitations of technology when it comes to virtual backgrounds. I mean, you can make things disappear like that, and looks kind of weird. But anyway, again, we are again honored and privileged to have AFFT Vice President and Social Media Director Randy Fisher with us to talk about the social media implications of the fair tax. We were talking. If you weren't with us last week, you need to go back to the Rumble archive or the YouTube archive, and you can probably still find it on our Facebook page somewhere if you scroll down far enough. We were talking largely about kind of the what's going on, what the difference is between today and the past of the fair tax. I want you to look ahead now that you've done your costume change. You got a different shirt and a different hat here. Let's look at a different direction. Let's look toward the future.
Yes.
What does the future hold for the fair tax movement within the social media realm?
I I think the future is very bright. And I think that uh, with the movement to take TikTok back from the original owners, so to speak, and create a version of TikTok that's open, accessible resource that is going to gather and grab a lot of the 18 to 35-year-olds that as soon as we can find an influencer that is willing to take the message onto a TikTok type platform, you're going to see another explosion of interest. And I think the future is in podcasting. The future is in short videos, 1 minute, 2 minute videos. We've got a handful of animations that we've already done, and we have a handful of people that are willing to start creating a lot more content. But what we really need are the young under 30 somethings who see this as an opportunity to become an influencer, to grab onto the idea. So we're at the edge of a precipice. And let's hope that when we jump this time that we land in the right spot and that it keeps going.
How do
And
you find those people, and how do those people find us?
I think that they find us from things like X, where they're. I think these are multi-platform, people that are really keeping their, seeing the internet, Facebook, social media, X, seeing it as a career, as a profit center. And there's a lot of them making a lot of money already on X. And they've learned how to monetize it. And all we have to do is get a handful of them to say, okay, this is an opportunity, and I can be an influencer, and I can do some good at the same time. I can give the country a way to drop kick into the dustbin of history the 1913 relic that is the income tax and the Internal Revenue Service. And I can walk away with, some jingle in my pockets and have a strong audience and a big audience, and do a lot of good for the future of the country. And I think they're out there. We just have to find them, or they have to find us.
Do you think that because of the unthrottling of X in the last 18 months or so, the disappearance of some of the community fact checking, which I never really understood about the fair tax because it was not necessarily a super political arrow that was going in for one party or another, for one ideology or another. But here we go. Do you think that the fair tax now has a little bit of an advantage because of the overall discussion about uh, from the president of the United States to get rid of the Internal Revenue Service, to change the way we do taxation. He's taken it down the tariff road without giving it back. But do you think that because of the fact that the unleashing of our ability to gain images on X is going to help in finding those folks in terms of discussion that would say, "Hey, we need to take advantage of this"? Are we looking for somebody in that age category that we're talking about that that has to? We got to turn the light on above their head so that they will go, "I need to own this and move it forward."
Yeah, I think if you look at the explosion of Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, who started out as a libertarian, and he recognized the fact that you have to tie together disparate ideologies without making it too ideological. And I hope that makes sense. But, just watching what he's been able to accomplish I think he met and started his road to creating Turning Point USA back in the Mitt Romney era. And, he went to the Republican convention. He met the right people, had faith in himself, they had faith in him. And it was kind of a concurrence that created a path to the point where you actually saw that entity, that group of people, pretty much go out and win the 2024 election. They were able to combine electronics with grassroots, with faith, country, freedom, and economic, all wrapped together. And I think we're kind of getting caught in that tailwind, which is a good thing. And from the economic freedom standpoint, I think it's opening all the doors, and all we have to do is hang on to it and go and grow with it. So I think it's opened up a whole new world in the last 18 months.
Well, let me ask you kind of an off-the-wall question here that just popped into my head. We have been seeing in the past several weeks guys like Mark Zuckerberg and other big tech titans who in the past were just adamantly opposed to anything that even smelled of conservatism. And a lot of things people think the fair tax is connected with that. We're seeing a 180-degree turnaround in some of those people, that they're no longer going to censor speech. They're no longer going to fact check everything that they don't agree with. Is this for real, or are they just kind of playing the political game with the administration that's in power now?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I think they may have always been more conservative than they were willing to put forward, until they saw that, oh man, the whole ground has shifted, and they saw what was literally a movement of the entire political picture from too far one direction, to the center, to starting to move the other direction. And they said, well, from an economic standpoint, in order to keep our enterprise is alive. We've got to move with it. And I think that they were very comfortable doing that anyway. They were probably not as far left as what they were pictured as being. And, they took the opportunity and, stepped to the center and then a little right of center. And I think that's where they're going to stay. And it's going to continue to evolve and hopefully continue to grow. And I think it will. So
He's talked about the FAIRtax as being apolitical. We don't take political sides. It's a straight down the middle solution to a long-term problem of creating revenue for the Treasury. We are taxed with, as FAIRtax volunteers, and I would include the listeners, the folks that are orbiting around FAIRtax official on X, where we find ourselves in these paths of conversations and discussions where we can bring in a little light on without getting too wordy and cluttering it up with superfluous wording. Time to end the income tax, end the Internal Revenue Service. It's hurting the economy. Is that a message that you think would resonate with our volunteers that are out there? And I'm speaking to the people that are listening to the program. If you're on X or if you're not, how you can help get kind of push the dialogue along in places where you have your ability to do so.
Yeah, I think it makes everybody an influencer. And I don't know if a lot of folks listening use what are called spaces on X, but spaces is like an open mic forum where you can go in and have 3 or 4 moderators, and you can have a crowd of 100, 200, 1,000 and up. Once a space catches on and an influencer finds that in that space this topic is going to generate more ears and listeners, they will repeat the topic. They'll expand on the topic, and it'll grow and grow and grow. And I think you're going to see more of that, where people will look at, okay, promises made, promises kept. How is President Trump going to stop taxes on tips? How's he going to stop taxes on overtime? How's he going to stop taxes on Social Security? And as you add each one of those promises in, it's leading you to only one point of discussion, and that is you got to stop taxing income. You got to doing it in tiny bite, tiny bite, tiny bite. You're going to see works. And then that's going to result in, you know what? Let's just ditch the whole stupid income tax system and make the leap to a consumption tax. And I think for topical purposes, these X spaces can be a good way to use that. Where you set up a time, set up a space, invite 3 or 4 moderate people to join in to start the discussion, and then find an influencer who's willing to expand it and continue it.
We did that a year ago, almost, and
yeah,
6 people and the 3 of us in there. I think that was it. So, but we're on a different ball field. We're in the same game with X, but we're in a different ball field. And as soon as Elon Musk turned the switch on that made the whole game change, and we talked about algorithms and how he opened the doors for the technology to increase with video, and the ability to have the space that we just talked about. Interesting name for it. It's like we're sitting here talking in this virtual conference room now, and yet we can invite friends. So the big thing I think that I want people to understand who are listening is we need a lot of young influencers out there, as you've said many times, Randy, to help take this to the next level because they are supercharged about technology. They understand all the ramifications and how it works, and they can do it while they're riding a bike, and they got the phone up, and and they're doing three things at one time, and I'm excited about that part of it. It certainly is light years ahead of where we were even 5 years ago. Looking at how technology has changed the game from just 5 years ago, where we were talking to 6 people at a time, or 100 people at the fairgrounds, or in a casual conversation. And I'm not saying that those things aren't important. Even today, our day-to-day conversation in the public square, the literal, not the virtual, the literal public square is still important because we have an opportunity to spark an interest and then maybe get the word to the right person that way. But on X, it's universal. And I think there's a lot going on around the world in terms of frustration with government, just in general.
Right.
And see that we see that ability to tag on to that angst and that frustration with a nice solution, dealing with the age-old problem of how do you pay for the services that you'd like to get from your government. So, and follow me up with this. How do we go finding those young influencers that we could get to? Do we go to their space and start talking to them? And space meaning the technology for X. How do we do that?
Well, I think we look for a platform that they're on, and once we find a platform that they're on, we don't preach. We just plant seeds. What do you guys think about people that work for a living at a low hourly wage but depend on tips? What do you think about the fact that they have to fork over a big chunk of those tips to fund the federal government? Do you think they should be punished over the fact that they don't get a high hourly wage and have to live off of tips? And then you start the discussion there, and you move it from there to the next piece, which is overtime. If you're going to work, 50 hours a week, don't you think you should get to keep what you earn by spending more of that time and generating more revenue, not having to give more of it over to the government? And then you move it to the next step. Now, they're not going to want to talk about Social Security in terms of having to pay taxes on it. But what they are going to want to talk about is, I'm being forced to pay into a Social Security system that's likely not going to be there and be able to afford to give me that the money back that I paid into it unless it's properly funded. Well, do you think it makes more sense to fund it with a 370 million consumer tax base or 115 million wage earner tax base? And then you can spread that idea to them. So as we figure out a way to take the breadcrumbs that have been dropped and talk to them about each crumb at a time, without making them read 130 or 140 pages of HR 25 before they have a chance to really understand and get interested in why this matters to them or should matter to them. I think it opens the door. And hopefully we're going to see people that are going to, want to step through that door and figure out a way to monetize it. Because I still think it has to be capable of being monetized in order for them to want to pursue it as an influencer. But we all want to have influence. We all want to be able to, take something that's important to us and convince other people that it should be important to them. But we just got to find the ways to do it. And I think we found them. Now let's find the people and let them pick up the banner and run with it. Because I hate to remind you guys, but we're aging out. I don't know about you, but I'm not keen on being 83 or 84 years old in a decade from now, and still getting up at 5 in the morning and posting on social media and fighting battles day in and day out, hour in and hour out, with ignorance and cantankerous contrarians. I want somebody in their 20s and 30s doing some of that and making a little bit of money off of it and being able to monetize it.
Sure.
So
I was going to just say real quick to support you in that effort, Randy. Artificial intelligence, you can now replicate yourself and make Randy Fisher and set him on simple, fair, and efficient FAIRtax. And
oh God, that's a scary thought. A lawyer being replicated by artificial intelligence to go out and harass every consumer of information. I don't know about that. Although you can't turn a TV on between 5 p.m. and 8 and 7 p.m. without getting 50 lawyer commercials every hour. So
Yes.
I guess that's sort of what we're seeing now is the artificial replication of lawyers through media. And that's certainly the ugly side of it, that's for sure.
Oh, mercy. Let me ask you another kind of off the wall question here. How do we translate grassroots support for the FAIRtax to reach the people that we really need to reach? And that's the Congress critters who will ultimately decide whether or not this thing passes or not. How can we leverage social media to get our message directly into Congress?
Well, we know that they look at numbers on social media. They have, people that are hired to look at the demographics, look at the numbers of, how certain things are trending. And as soon as they see a trend and as soon as they start to see numbers moving toward no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, in the IRS, then they're going to say, well, I want to stay in office. And in order to stay in office, I have to at least look and sound like I support those things. And I think that's what we're starting to see now. That's why the opposition to flipping the tax system is starting to wither and weaken. And I think we need to take advantage of that. And I hope we can.
Oh, I know. I admit I'm not on a great deal of different social media platforms. I do look at Facebook every day, and I see your congressional representative, Miss Kat Cabot, is on there quite a bit. She should be reachable, and she has been in the past. I'm not sure she signed on to HR 25 in this new Congress yet. I expect she will. But,
she is.
I mean, can you can go right on there and just talk directly to them, correct?
Yeah. I mean, you can have the opportunity at, like Congresswoman Kamek, she has open town hall meetings where you can ask any question you want to ask. If you're in her district and you attend those open town hall virtual meetings, you can get in line, queue up, ask her a question about whatever you want to ask her. And it's kind of opened the door to that type of thing that's bleeding over between your connection to your representative and your social media. And I think they all recognize that. And the ones that are good at it are taking advantage of it. Byron Donalds is another one. He does open town hall meetings virtually. And I think more and more and more of them are recognizing the fact that you've got to have a platform and a communication line, or your opponents will come up behind you and you'll be out of office. And that's the one thing these folks want, is they want to stay where they are. They want to stay in office. They want to get reelected. And in order to do that, they're going to have to change what they've been doing in the past. And that is just sending out, a newsletter. They're going to have to do more than just send out a newsletter. They're going to have town halls. And the best way to do a town hall is exactly one of, what we're doing right now. Set up a Zoom call, put a chat feature in it, let people that work for you monitor the chat feature and convey the questions to you. And then you talk about the things that the people want to talk about. And then you open a line for selective questioners to have an audio opportunity to exchange a two-way discussion. And that's how these new town halls are going to end up being run. It's more convenient. It's safer. You don't have to get in the car, drive to a building, get out of the car, walk into the building, and sit there and listen. You can do it from your armchair. And I think that's a trend that's going to expand. The whole social media opportunity, I think politicians are recognizing you can't be at the back of it. You got to be in the front of it. And Congresswoman Kamek, Congressman Donalds, there's a few out there that have become major media influencers because they've learned the right podcasters. They've learned how to get on and spread the message, through the right people.
All righty. Well, I'm afraid our time has gotten away from us again here on FAIRtax Power Radio. Yes, they have. Randy, I thank you so much for taking a little time of your tremendously busy day to come in and talk to us here for a couple of weeks on FAIRtax Power Radio. Real quickly, let's just assume there's somebody out there watching the program. Gee, I want to be one of these media influencers. How do I get involved? How can they get in touch with us? Give us a quick point of contact, and then we got to run.
And email Randy, RANDY, Fisher. You got to put the C in it. F as in Frank, ISCHER at fairtax.org. Call the 1-800-324-7829, 1-800-FAIRtax. Hit extension 102. Rings through to my cell phone. I'll pick it up at any stupid hour of the day or night, if you keep it reasonable and rational. And you can find me on Facebook, X, Truth Social, all under the FAIRtax banner. Just look for FAIRtax Official on X, Truth Social, FAIRtax, or Facebook, FAIRtax. And you can send a message to that platform and I'll get right back to you.
All righty. Well, again, thank you so much for being with us. We are slap out of time. We got to wrap this up. Again, appreciate you watching, sharing, and liking the videos. Till we meet again here, same time, same station on FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
I'm Bob Scarborough.
And I'm Randy Fisher, and thanks for what you do, FAIRtax guys.
Indeed, we are the FAIRtax guys, providing you the FAIRtax is the only truly fair tax, and once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
So tell me, how could I pay less taxes?
Less.
Yeah, I'm trying to get ahead, so how can I pay less?
Well, I suppose you could pay less taxes by earning less money, or you could give to charity.
How is that going to help?
Actually, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but if you know the right people, okay, or if you have a really good lawyer, you can usually get around the big ones.
If I may, under the fair tax, to pay less taxes, you would simply consume less. You would control how much you pay and when you pay your taxes simply by choosing what you purchase and when you purchase something.
So I could stay focused and get ahead.
Exactly.